And welcome to another edition of the End Zone along with Cameron Johnson. I am Colby Daniels. Cameron, it is that time of the year, so much happening, and we got to talk Thunder basketball. Still leading the Western Conference despite all the injuries that have plagued this roster the entire season. They just keep finding a way. It's been a fun ride, and now we kind of hit the turbo button and zoom over the next 2 months to the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, and you know, before the All-Star break, it was like all these injuries. They were doing a good job, and if they lost, it was like, yeah, they're injured. And when they get a win, it's like, okay, that's an impressive win. I find that out of the All-Star break, not only have they been winning with a bunch of injuries, they've looked good doing it. And of course, I mean, some of them are nail biters and hard fought, but a win's a win, and I like where they're at right now.
And I think it's tougher basketball now, right? I mean, every NBA player that I've ever talked to says that the brand of basketball being played after the All-Star break is different than the brand of basketball being played before the All-Star break, and you can definitely tell that every team is taking it a little bit more serious, maybe minus the tank teams, right? There are a few that are trying to get the #1 overall pick, but for the most part, you have teams that are trying to gear up and find their playoff selves over this stretch. And so I think we've seen the Thunder in several of those close, gritty type of games since the All-Star break where they've had to dig deep, and it's been a different guy maybe stepping up in different roles. But it's been a ton of fun to watch, and I think as I watch Thunder fans kind of enjoy the roller coaster of the injury bug and the nightly performances, I get the feeling the Thunder fan base as a whole are really enjoying just watching this roster as a whole step up in different ways, different guys, different nights, and again, just finding ways.
Yeah, that to me has been the most fun part. I mean, watching these guys like Isaiah Joe, Jared McCain, I mean, what a steal he's been.
No
but
doubt.
Just watching all of these guys, Cason Wallace too, just have these big breakout games. It's like, I mean, I know they're not your starters, but like they play like a. Obviously, if you don't have SGA in, he's your best player.
Right.
But I mean, they can hold their own, and they look like legit starters. And I mean, it's really cool to see.
Well, especially I think to close a game, right? This team is so talented that over the course of 48 minutes, they have enough good players that they can compete with anybody. The guys like SGA make the biggest difference at the end of close games, right?
Yeah.
When everything buckles down and you start counting possessions, and that's when the superstars rise to the occasion and they become the difference between like the Thunder and the Timberwolves, or, you know, insert random team here. This team has been in some of those games without SGA where I think, you know, 4 minutes left, 3 minutes left, I've wondered if they're going to have enough to get it done. And, you know, to Cason Wallace's credit, to Isaiah Joe's credit, even Chet Holmgren, who's an NBA All-Star, I think at times has kind of found a new gear or found different ways to help this team.
Yeah, and especially, I'm blanking on which game it was now, the overtime game where SGA did not play. I mean,
Denver,
yeah, I mean, they find a way. This is like I said, I feel better about the state of this team and dealing with injuries now than I might have a couple of months ago. But to your point, I mean, it's different basketball now.
Well, one positive note in terms of injuries, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander came back against Denver. He's played a few games now. He is just on an incredible tear right now. And he is 2 games away from tying Wilt Chamberlain's 126-game consecutive streak of scoring 20 or more points. So they will play Golden State Saturday night, and then they'll play Denver on Monday night at the Paycom Center. That could be the tie, 126, and then next Thursday, home against Boston could potentially be the record breaker.
I mean, it's hard to be surprised by him at this point, but there have been a couple of times where you start to get worried when you see it's later in the game and he hasn't quite hit 20. It's a kind of a fun little emotional roller coaster, but I mean, he's a generational talent in my mind, so it's cool to see him reap the rewards of that.
Sometimes in sports, you know, we pick these like arbitrary numbers that people hit to, you know, this player did this at this time, hit this amount of, you know, like you just hit these arbitrary numbers that aren't really records, I guess, unless you decide to like look at it from that perspective. But I will say, like, anytime you do anything that Wilt Chamberlain did, it's pretty special regardless of how arbitrary the number might be.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, there's a lot of things that you want to repeat what he's done, but yeah, it's just the state of the Oklahoma City Thunder in the last few years is 10 years ago. It's hard to believe we're here, and a lot of that is because of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So
Well, let's take a look at a couple of crazy stats in regards to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. By the way, the post-game outfit the other night was out of this world wild. So I give it up to Shai. Okay, so he has had 4 30-point-per-game seasons, which is the 4th most all-time, only behind Michael Jordan, Wilt Chamberlain, and Oscar Robertson. That's insane to just say it, and he's in the prime of his career. Doesn't look like it's slowing down anytime soon. The other really crazy stat here is in those 4 30-point-per-game seasons, he has also shot over 50% from the floor, which is incredibly efficient. That is more than KD, LeBron, and Steph combined. 4 30-point seasons, averaging 50% from the floor.
I mean, like
unbelievable.
It's ridiculous. Like I said, I mean, we know he's a good player, but you see stuff like that, especially to just have it, visualized and put into numbers. It's insane what he does, and especially, that stat from field goals. It's like you can have all that chatter out there about him being a foul merchant and whatnot, but I mean, that right there proves he's good.
Yeah. He's very good. Some would call him the best player in the game. He was the MVP a season ago. New York Knicks head coach Mike Brown said he's the best at something else.
SGA he's a tough cover, and he does a great job of convincing the referees, probably better than anybody in the league, that he's getting hit.
Best at convincing referees that he's getting hit. By the way, that comes after a Knicks loss to the Thunder in which Shai Gilgeous-Alexander shot 7 total free throws, one of which was from a technical foul. So he actually only shot 6 free throws from foul calls. So I don't know why he chose that moment to throw that out there. I know there was one call in the game that was probably a bad call early in the game, but the low-hanging fruit that is the SGA whistle situation around the NBA to me is so exhausting. It's like nobody else watches the other stars in the league and how they're officiated and how they draw fouls or how they flop. For some reason, there's just this focal point on how Shai does it without saying, what does Luka do? What does Wemby do? What does Nikola Jokic do?
You know what it's like to me? It's like how, I don't know how it was for you growing up, but how people tell you to hate Nickelback, and you're like, why? Why? Like, it's trendy to do it, but then you actually look at them and they're like, no, they're actually really good. It's the same thing with Shai. It's like, yeah, there's people, it's trendy to say that he knows how to get to the foul line, but when you look at him, like that Knicks game, I mean, he's doing the real work, and every player is going to have probably some questionable, moments where they're trying to sell a foul, but I mean, I don't really think it's a huge problem, but yeah.
Yeah. Big Nickelback fan, huh?
I like Nickelback.
Look at this photograph.
Yeah, exactly. I thank my parents for that one.
You know what? I will say, Nickelback does not deserve all the hate they get. They're fine. Like, I'm not a giant fan, but they're fine. Like, I don't hate their music either. So the point is very well taken. All right, we got to take a timeout. We got a lot to talk about in the football world as well, with college football commercial jersey patches being the present of college football. That's next on the End Zone. Along with Cameron Johnson, I am Colby Daniels. We're going to talk some college football, NFL Combine, spring football coming up. But we have to start with what your alma mater just did the other day. Big news in the college football world. If you didn't hear, the University of Arkansas signed a 5-year deal with Tyson Foods to put a Tyson Food logo on all athletic uniforms. 90% of the money from this deal is going to go to NIL opportunities for athletes, so that's very cool. But I think the reason this is such big news is because this is the future of college football. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. It is an arms race with every institution in the country for funding, and this is just another avenue to try and help you beat the guy next door.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I first saw it, it wasn't something I would have immediately thought to have done. I'm not a business mind, but then whenever that comes out, I'm like, I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner. Like, it is a really unique thing that they're doing, and I'm sure, like, it's going to, I've already seen the calls for it in other universities, but it's an interesting take, and I think it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
We have some photos of what it might look like if Oklahoma and Oklahoma State have the jersey patches. By the way, you like fake logo company there.
Okay. I was like, what is
on the
that?
John Mateer jersey. But look, I know a lot of fans look at this. They're like, I don't want it to be like NASCAR. I don't want all these sponsorships. Here's the thing. This happens in all of major sports at this point, right? I mean, the NBA does it. We see the Loves patch on the Thunder uniforms, and I get that the first time you see it, it might be jarring to see a change like that to the uniform, but I think it very quickly becomes an afterthought in terms of looking at the uniform. I mean, John Mateer has 8 patches on his uniform. They have an SEC patch, a Nike patch, a captain,
And then you throw in special games too, like
That's
bowl
right,
games.
that's
It's
right.
like, where's everything gonna go? I mean, there's some thinking to be done, but
the Jordan Brand patch, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
But
Yeah,
this is
and-
the future of college football, and this is a $1 billion business, and you have to make every single penny
Right.
that you can make, and fans obviously know that because every university is asking them to do more financially. All right, let's talk a little NFL Combine because we didn't hit Deion Burks last week. That was on Saturday. He had a great Combine. Had the 3rd fastest 40 for a wide receiver. He had a 42.5-inch vertical, which is just mind-blowing explosive. This is a guy 2 years ago when he left Purdue to come to Oklahoma. People viewed him as a 2nd-round pick. And after 2, I think statistically, lackluster seasons at Oklahoma, I was very curious to see what the temperature would be on Deion Burks and his draftability. I think despite the down offenses that he's played in Norman, it was still pretty good. But with what he did at the Combine, I feel pretty confident in saying this is a day 2 guy. I would be shocked if he fell out of the 3rd round after what he showed in Indianapolis last weekend.
I thought all of the Sooners did a good job of increasing their draft stock, but specifically Burks. I mean, I think this was a much needed boost for him. To your point, some lackluster offenses he played on, which not all
Not
of that
his
is
fault, yeah.
it's not his fault. So for him to go out there and show you this is what I can do if given, the proper tools. I mean, obviously it's not a real in-game scenario, but I think
Right.
that definitely enhanced his odds there, and I would agree with you on the day 2.
And speaking of Oklahoma football, we have a bunch of big dates coming up. The OU Pro Day is March 12th. That is next Thursday. Spring practice is set to begin on March 25th. And then spring will wrap up with the spring game on April 18th. I know that people feel like the college football offseason lasts forever, but I think as time has gone on, the offseason does not feel as much like the offseason maybe as it did 20, 30 years ago.
And especially for the Oklahoma teams this year, I think if you're a fan, you're excited for this because there's been so much change. You're bringing in all of these big name players. You want to see it in action without having to wait all the way until September. But I mean, a lot of work to do, a lot to work with. But I myself am excited to watch it all unfold.
And not only big name players, big name coaches.
Yeah, exactly,
like Jason Witten, who we are going to have an opportunity to speak with next week. So I'm excited to have some of our Jason Witten comments on the End Zone next week. But that'll be exciting to meet some of the new assistant coaches and some of the mid-semester transfers or enrollees. I don't know all the terminology these days, but a lot of the new guys on the Oklahoma football team. We'll get a chance to meet them early next week as well. All right, it is time for 10 seconds of MAC Hoops.
The MAC has taken over college basketball. Should Miami make the tournament? They have a strength of schedule of 281. Any team that's made the tournament even close to that has been bounced in the first round.
All right, that was 10 seconds of MAC Hoops with MAC correspondent Adam King. I'm Colby Daniels along with Cameron Johnson. Let's keep Adam around, and he will try to move the chains next on the End Zone. Welcome back to the End Zone. It is time for Moving the Chains along with Cameron Johnson. I am Colby Daniels, MAC correspondent Adam King sticking around. You're a seasoned vet at this point of moving the chains. We're going to switch things up on you. We're going to give you 10 seconds to answer.
Oh, cool.
I'm just kidding.
I like that.
I'm just kidding. You get longer than 10 seconds
me in
to
my
answer
wheelhouse.
questions on moving the chains. So 1st and 10, I'll ask you a question depending on how well or terribly you answer it. Cameron's going to decide if you get positive or negative yards. All right, we got a little video to start here.
Okay.
We all know what happened last Friday night. OKC Denver. Lou Dort trips Nikola Jokic, got kicked out. People called it a dirty play. Reminded me of when Patrick Beverley went after Russell Westbrook years ago in the NBA playoffs. So my question to you, which play is more dirty? Dort on Jokic or Patrick Beverley on Thunder hero Russell Westbrook.
I am glad the Jokic brothers weren't in the crowd for the Dort Jokic. That could have been
Yeah.
a bad ending.
Might have been a mess.
Dort's, like, you can actually see him, like, stick his foot out and, like, he wanted. Beverly, you can at least make the case like he was going for the ball and just, like, went too hard. Like, we've all played with a guy at the Y who does that, who just, like,
Try-hard
goes
guy, yeah.
hard all the
Yeah.
time, right? So maybe you could argue that wasn't his fault, but, I mean, Dort stands there and kind of glances and just, I mean, that's tough. That's a tough one. So I think it's Dort.
I would agree with you
Yeah.
on that. I mean, I watched it and I was like, ooh, that wasn't the
It didn't feel
smartest.
good.
That
It
was
just
not
didn't
the
feel good.
yeah. No, that's the safe answer. I'll give you pick up a 4.
That's it.
It's not the safe answer because, I mean,
safe,
we're in
but-
the state
yeah,
of
you know
Oklahoma.
I gotta
what
go home
mean.
tonight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Beverly is like public enemy number one in
Yeah,
this state,
yeah, yeah.
but
I gotta
it is
go-
the right answer
Yeah.
without
Hey, that's
question.
what I mean.
I got out to my car tonight
Yes,
somehow.
it is the right answer. I mean, Patrick Beverly at least was going after the basketball.
Yeah.
This was completely away. You know what? I give him credit though. He took accountability
Yeah.
for what he did, and you know, I would say every team needs a Lou Dort type of player.
100%.
All right, so nice job on first down. Second down, expectation for Kyler Murray's NFL future. The Cardinals
Oh,
are going
wow.
to cut him
Yup.
next Wednesday, which is the start of the new league year. He was the former #1 overall pick, showed a lot of promise in his first 3 seasons, got a 5-year, $230 million contract after 3 years. Really hasn't been the same guy over the last 4 seasons since that contract.
Yeah,
so what do you think?
So I grew up in Cleveland, and I listen to Cleveland radio every day. And since Monday, the conversation's been like, would you rather have Kyler Murray or Shedeur Sanders? And I think Kyler Murray's future depends on the situation that he goes to. It's going to be much like a quarterback that gets drafted. Maybe it's not the biggest paycheck, but it's the right situation. And there's a couple of them out there that could work for him, but I think he's a guy who's going to want to be on the field more so than he's worried about everything else that goes around it. So I think we're going to see, I don't see Sam Darnold. People are saying that like, oh, we have this Sam Darnold resurgence. I don't think that's going to happen, but he'll be serviceable, maybe a transition guy for a couple of years for a team that needs him, and then that kind of might be it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love it. I wish you
Yeah.
know you kind of want him to pull the Baker Mayfield, like
Oh.
maybe where you got those rough few years,
And
and,
he could do
then
it
you
in
find the
Cleveland.
right situation.
Great.
But I kind of tend to agree
Yeah.
with you on that one. But I'll go 3.
I think he's going to have a resurgence like Baker Mayfield. I don't know what the plateau is, but I think he's going to be a better version of himself wherever he lands because it's going to reignite a fire. All right, last one before we get out of here. What is your all-time mid-major NCAA
Oh,
tournament
yes.
starting 5 because we are at the tournament time here in college
Yeah.
basketball?
So this isn't like the best 5, but this is like a team that I want to watch. Because you could do like Larry Bird and David Robinson and crushes. So I have Brett Comer at the point guard
Okay.
from Dunk City.
Okay.
Like, what a team. You got to do Steph Curry. You just have
Sure.
to. He's going to be on any team that's fun to watch. I'm going to go Adam Morrison at the 3. We'll kind of
Okay.
spread the floor a little bit.
Gonzaga zone?
We're going Nate Thurmond, the pride
Oh,
of
wow.
Bowling Green
Okay.
State University.
Okay.
And then we're going to do Hershey Hawkins from Bradley, who was like breaking backboards in his day. That's just a fun, shooting, violent team to watch.
I
All
like
right,
it. First
I gave
down.
you the first down. That is Adam King moving the chains. We got to take a timeout. It is the closing argument with Noble McIntyre next here on the End Zone. All right, welcome back one final time. It is the closing argument with Noble McIntyre, attorney at law and massive sports fan. The NBA season is in this final stretch as we get ready for the playoffs. And unfortunately, this is also the time where a lot of teams are deciding whether they're making a push or they are cashing it in and going full tank mode, which is a problem for the NBA and unfortunately for places like Oklahoma City that aren't premier destinations. It might be the only way to start to rebuild. But the NBA is exploring new rules this offseason to fix tanking. What are your anti-tanking ideas to solve this problem?
I think that you need to eliminate the draft protection picks. Oklahoma City has Utah Jazz's 2026 pick, but it's protected if it falls within the top 8. I think you eliminate that and say if you trade that draft, you're not protected by tanking. Right now, Oklahoma City is not going to get that pick. It's going to go away and it's going to stay with Utah because they're going to tank and stay under the top 8. Get rid of that so that that draft pick conveys, and that way teams still have a reason to play.
What do you think about excuse me. What do you think about the idea that you can't select in the top 5 in multiple seasons, or 3 seasons in a row, or something like that, where you put caps on how high your draft pick can be multiple years.
I mean, the problem with that is you still have some lower tier teams that don't have the same payroll that could finish that way automatically, even if they're not tanking, and it continues to hurt them. I think the better thing to do is, once a team is eliminated from the playoffs mathematically, then the record counts for draft order. So now you have an incentive to do as good as you can, because the better you do, the higher you'll draft once you're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs.
It's a giant problem. I don't know what the fix is. I think both of those things help the situation, but the reality is, I think the way the NBA is structured, the way that big market teams have an advantage in free agency, teams like Oklahoma City and maybe Charlotte aren't going to lure the superstars to their place. I mean, the reality is, if you're not good, the only way you're getting better is by getting big draft picks and also nailing them, which isn't a guarantee either. All right, that is this week's edition of The Closing Argument with Noble McIntyre. I'm Colby Daniels. We'll be back next week.